Hello, good morning, everybody, and I'm Andrew Jenkins, and this is a short countdown timer to help the various feeds catch up with us and settle down, and we hope that we're going live today. We never quite know whether we're going to live or not on LinkedIn. So, we can't wait for today's groovy show, folks, and we're going to be hanging out with Leaders Live Hangout guests, co-director Sarah Howson and Marianne Whitlock from Strategic PA Recruitment, and the ant and deck of the executive assistant recruitment world. There we go. Give us a quick wave, Sarah and Marianne. Brilliant. And we've got Mrs. Moderator in the room as well. So please let us know, by the way, if our comment, please give us a comment to know that we're coming through so we know that we're live properly. We've got Mrs. Moderator in the room as well. So hi, Mrs. Moderator, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. The feed isn't coming up yet, but it is now. Good morning, Paul Winfield. You've just stopped me having a heart attack.
Morning, Paul. Brilliant. So our theme today is the executive assistant, the Swiss Army knife. Whoa, I like a Swiss Army knife. Okay, so we've got the 102nd show, folks. Woo, that deserves a wow. And we've got Tilly's gang from Marketing CX in the background, just in case the comments don't come through. And so with Sarah, Mrs. Moderator, Marianne, me, Healthy Minds Club, our new sponsors, and Marketing CX, that's today's team, folks. Wow. Boom, there we go. Hope you liked our groovy opener. And we've got so oi people and hi gang, it's Leaders Live showtime, folks, yay. And it's just after 8:45 a.m. here in the UK, and we are live. We're always delighted when we've actually gone live. So we're spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. Yabba dabba do. Hope you enjoyed the groovy opener too, gang. And this week we're delighted that we're being powered by our new sponsor, Healthy Minds Club. Kathy Heath is the CEO of that. And we'll look out for who's sponsoring us each week as well. So we've got new sponsors each week. So there we go. And and please let us know if our audio is coming through okay too, please, folks. So if you're new to Leaders Live, a warm welcome to you. And Leaders Live is a dynamic weekly talk show that generates business through networking, through community, and extraordinary conversations that inspire folks. And as I mentioned to you, in the countdown, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and this is and I host this weekly interactive Leaders Live show that's built an awesome community of like-minded leaders, and some of you are already on, and that's great to see you all joining in. We've got loads of people joining in, actually. So we'll come to the good mornings in a moment, but so please don't be shy. We'd love you to introduce yourself and join in, interact with the comments, chat to us, ask questions as we go along from Sarah and Marianne. That will be brilliant. And we have just 3 simple rules, folks. It's a safe community, mutual respect, and please no selling in the room. And our motto is I to the power of we. And a really easy way that you can join, you can show support for this show, this free show, and all the time and effort we put into it. And boy, do we put a lot of effort into it, especially this week as we've changed sponsors. You can buy me a coffee using buymeacoffee.com/leaderslive. Buy me 5 and you get a free half-hour coaching session, folks. And it looks a bit like this if I can find it. Let me just do a little test for you. So I love it. It's nice and groovy. It's a bit of fun. And you get your name up in lights like that, and you get a little bit of round of applause, and it's all good fun. So there we go. The link will be in the feed shortly. And smash those likes too, folks. So I love this little bell that comes up. Ding! Keeps us motivated. So thumbs up are great for us. And now, this show talk enables you to listen to great content, but there's so much more value when you subscribe to our email list, because you get Leaders Live leadership skills, teaching and value to equip you to lead well, and you get freebies and updates along. What's not to like, folks? And to make it real simple, we've now got a single link tree URL as well, which will be in the chat very shortly. There, it's coming up. So if you put it all together, what have you got? Bibbity, bobbity, boo. Love that. Okay, so let's bring in this week's Leaders Live guests. Good morning, Sarah and Marianne. How you doing?
Good morning. No, all good. I'm loving the buy me a coffee.
Oh, you're loving buy me a coffee. Well, I'm loving it too. So there you go. It's good fun. So thanks. And so Marianne and Sarah, both directors from Strategic PA Recruitment, and our theme today is the executive assistant, the Swiss Army knife. Whoa. So give us, whoa. So Marianne, kick us off. Give us a little bit of a brief sort of ditty about yourselves at Strategic PA Recruitment.
So myself. Thank you. So myself, I herald from a sales and marketing background.
Yeah.
In the travel industry, many eons ago. But my very first role was an administrative assistant. In today's term, it would probably be called team assistant. In luxury travel, and kind of worked my way through the ranks of various kind of administrative positions. Sarah was an EA for over 20 years, lived in free role, PLCs to startups and everything in between. And pretty much, we're in our 4th year of strategic PA recruitment.
4th year.
Wow. Launching, drum roll, just before COVID hit, which was perfect timing.
Drum roll. There you go. There's a drum roll for you. Ta-da!
I'm loving it. And we kind of weathered that storm, and we're here today. Kind of like real boutique approach to what we do, executive search, specialists. PA says what it does on the tin. In the kind of recruitment of personal assistants, executive assistants, office managers, team assistants, all the way up to that chief of staff role.
Chief of staff role. Wow. Okay. Thank you. And where are we heading today? So give us a kind of direction of travel. Where are we heading, Marianne?
Well, I suppose we wanted to talk about the executive assistant as a Swiss Army knife, and because we also run a PA network alongside that, so we have this huge, I suppose, forum of professional assistants who we love to work alongside. So we have, I suppose, again, with our background, we have this unique insight into what it takes to be an EA. So it's the Swiss Army knife. And that analogy really does represent for us, I suppose, what an EA does, from the versatility to the efficiency to reliability, resourcefulness, and being prepared.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about today, is the executive assistant role and why it's so important. And to kick us off, we've got our usual audience questions. So over to Sarah, actually. Sarah, give us an audience question for the audience to get going in the interaction.
I guess, do you know, as an audience, do you know what an executive assistant does? Do you know, what's their day-to-day? What's their objective? And I guess, have you used one before? Have you, been blessed and partnered with one? If not, would you consider it? It'd be good just to get a feel from the audience, kind of, what their experience has been with an EA.
Okay, so fine. Do you know what an executive assistant does? Do you have you used one? And if not, would you consider it? There you go. So that's audience question is in the feed, folks. So that's for you guys to catch up with in the feed. Please interact with us and get the comments flowing, and and ask questions too as we go along. And while there's a slight delay in the feed, so while we're doing that, I've just found this scene. Oh, look at that. That's much better, isn't it? So there we are. While the feed is catching up with us, quick one over to Mrs. Moderator for a moment. How are you doing, Sarah? Another Sarah in the room?
Yeah. All the Sarahs in the room.
All the Sarahs in the room.
Yeah, we have a few tech issues today, but we're not going to let them worry us. I'm not telling Andrew what they are. But
oh, right, okay. Right. Fair enough. Yeah, don't get me worried.
So there we go. Good morning, Steve Whittle. Nice to see you online. Thanks for letting us know we're coming through loud and well.
Brilliant.
I'm guessing this is Kieran because it's not coming up. It just says LinkedIn user, but the Ant and Deck of recruitment.
Yeah, we like that. Yeah, I had to do that one. Yeah.
Good morning, Daisy. Nice to have you.
Morning, Daisy. Yeah.
We have a new listener, I think, Amanda.
Amanda, how you doing, Amanda?
From Sri Lanka. So
Sri Lanka,
nice
all the way from Sri Lanka. Brilliant. Fantastic.
So there is a bit of a lag in the general feed. My separate LinkedIn isn't showing up at all. So there we go.
There we go.
Here we go. Andy Gray has answered the question for us. Absolutely no idea at business level. I did my last employed role, but I never knew how to make the best use of it. I was rubbish. My wife's coming on board from September for a day a week as EA, so I need this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she needs to listen to this too.
Andy.
Yeah.
There we go. Steve Whittle hasn't used one, but think they are real MVPs. Juggling tasks, managing schedules, and handling communication. They keep businesses running like a well-oiled machine. Hats off to those organisational superheroes.
Organisational superheroes. We were just talking
I
about
like
that before the
that
feed.
title.
We like that.
Sounds,
Yeah.
that sounds like a better branding, doesn't it? I'm an
We love
organisational
that.
superhero.
I like that too. Yeah. So let's get going. So let's bring back our guest. And just before we do, let's just give you both a round of applause with our confetti bomb. Here we go. Oh, don't we just love the confetti bomb? There we are. Fantastic. Okay, so let's kick off then. So, Sarah, over to you for a moment. So, what's the so what here with executive assistants? It sounds obvious, doesn't it? But explain the role, of executive assistants for us. What's their value? What's their benefit? Take it away for us, Sarah.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a unique role and often misunderstood as well. There's a really good Simon Sinek quote out there which says, a great executive assistant has your back, and I think that encompasses quite nicely exactly kind of what an EA, an EA's objective is. You have got somebody's back on so many different levels. It's I sometimes describe it, it's quite an emotional role. You're, as an EA, you're supporting, you're an extension of, you are, wanting the business you're working for to be successful, obviously, but also the executive you're working with to be successful too. So you're there to support them, and it's making them efficient, making them effective, giving them back time, taking away some of the tasks that are your strengths as an EA, organization, sorting out and organizing the diary. And it's more than just putting meetings into a calendar. It's working out what priorities are, what are the main objectives for the business, for the week, for the day, for the executive. So it's looking at that and making sure that you are aligning yourself and your exec to kind of be successful, setting them up for success as well.
Setting them up for success, yeah. And it can be a lonely place, right? As a CEO. Or as a leadership team,
as a SLT, part of the SLT, or a leader. And I think having that one person you can solely rely on and trust. Obviously, confidentiality is a huge part of this, and there's that kind of goes without saying that what is in that kind of bubble between the executive and yourself is for your eyes only. It is a lonely position as a leader, but also as an EA, there's a fine line there. And I always found, certainly with my experience, yes, you want to kind of be part of the organisation and take part in everything, but there's that stepping back and that kind of fine line,
professional line.
Exactly. The professional line, yeah. And I guess that has to be, isn't it? So there's an element of confidentiality on where that line is drawn, but also it sounds like there's quite a varied skill set here. The clues in the title of the show, isn't it? The Swiss Army knife thing, and that split between the sort of human element of the soft skills that are required, and to be good at this role, you have to balance, I guess, and I'm testing this out with you, the sort of harder skills of getting stuff organised, getting stuff done, the technical skills, if you like, with the human soft side as well, and having both of those in play isn't easy, right?
No, it isn't easy, and a requirement. And I think EQ, emotional intelligence in this role is hugely important, and if not one of the top skills of a high performing assistant. Being able to read the room, read your executive, pick up on the personal cues, that happen. You're there in a meeting room, seeing how a message lies. You're looking at the rest of the executives, the SLT in the room, and you can see who's offline. You can see who's not kind of fully engaged in the message. So it's kind of being, I guess, and having that EQ and using it, filtering the messages back to the executive that you need to. And, there's the term eyes and ears as well that is used. You're there to ensure and facilitate that, the right things are happening at the right time.
The right things are happening at the right time. Yeah. Go on, Marianne.
I was going to say, and also, I mean, you say this a lot, you're 10% CEO when you're an EA.
Yeah,
which is
that's
really
like
interesting.
that, because you're mirroring the senior leadership team as well, aren't you? Ladies, your microphone is just slightly fuzzy as you're talking. That might be the gain is too high. If there's anything you can fiddle with on the microphone thingy, but if not, don't worry too much. It's okay, but it's just coming slightly fuzzy when you are talking. And I just like that about reading the room, organizational superheroes, someone's just said in the chat. We'll come to that in a moment and give you a break in a minute. But I just love that about reading the room, and reading the temperature of the organization is something that's very powerful. I remember one of my friends who was senior, in a position, and he would say to his PA or his executive assistant now, what's really going on? Because he had no clue, he was making decisions, but he would refer to Rose and kind of go, so what's really going on? What are you noticing? What are you picking up? Because she was able to pick up she was very empathetic. She could pick up stuff. And I just thought that was a really intelligent thing of him to do, was to recognize that that's a weakness of his, and to recognize too that it was a strength of Rose's, and together, he was able to, to function at a much higher level, because, the things he was missing were being covered by his executive assistant. What say you?
I think that hits the nail on the head, doesn't it?
Excellent. Yeah.
I think that's often the case, Andrew.
Yeah.
The CEO or leader is focused on, what they're trying to deliver, execute in terms of the board. So they're under pressure. So to have someone who can kind of, pick up on your so much weaknesses, but
plug any kind of holes.
Gaps,
nuances, and bring them to the fore, because they're equally powerful, right? And the thing is, at senior positions, we kind of often, people are often making big decisions, and they're tough decisions to make, and they seem logical and rational, but actually the bit that perhaps we don't take into account so much in our organisations is the more emotional side, and having somebody, male or female, that's picking that up and being able to read a room better. I remember being a governor of a large school, multi-academy school, and I was the one that was picking up the emotions in the room, because the CEO didn't have a clue, and it was me that he would refer to for that. So those nuances are really quite important, aren't they?
I think really important. And when we are working on an assignment from a recruitment side, that's exactly what we're doing. We have it's the due diligence of really understanding the leader, the organisation, and particularly the culture, and then we kind of match that to an assistant, and it's kind of, as you said, Sarah, plugging and kind of being aware of strengths and weaknesses, so everything's balanced out. So in the EA and their executive, you've almost got one full person. I know that sounds bizarre.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Almost like, so you're such a synergy together that you completely become one. One breathes in, one breathes out. That's when it's the magical side.
Beautiful. And that's where the trust comes in. I like that, as one breathes in, the other one breathes out. That's beautifully said. Let's just give you a quick break for a moment. Sarah, Mrs. Moderator, sorry, what's going on in the rooms?
Yeah, too many Sarahs.
Too many Sarahs, yeah.
I think what I'm picking up is it's really important for the person who is using the EA to actually think about how they want to use them. Because Stuart has made a good point. Said he had an EA in the past, more when the term PA was more widely used.
Of course.
Said, I don't think I set up the boundaries properly, because she didn't save me the time headaches I hoping to try again in the near future. Stuart, maybe you need to talk to Sarah and Marianne.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we'll come on to that in a moment. Carry on, Sarah.
I think it is, making sure you use the person to save you that time. I mean, a LinkedIn user who I can't work out who it is because my feed just isn't playing, goes, my CEO and I refer to my role as being her spare brain. I love that is brilliant. Whoever you are, that is brilliant.
That's lovely. A spare brain. It's like the second brain that picks stuff up that you're not picking up. Yeah. Getting some nods your end. Marianne.
Absolutely. I think this is clear. As a portfolio finance director, I see the real value in the portfolio EA role.
Yeah.
No need to wait till you have a full-time need. That's almost too late. Some EA support has a huge impact during the early, slightly chaotic years building the business. And that's the minimum role or time. So what's the minimum role or time you need to have an impact?
Yeah. And any thoughts on that, Sarah, Marianne?
Well, I think what, as in someone kind of joining into position, I think they can make an impact straight away, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, there's a period of kind of bedding in and learning the business, understanding the business, and we often talk about, you know, those first 90 days are really important
90
for
days.
for a leader to really allow an assistant to kind of step into their world, and that's how they interact with their clients. You know, let them sit in on client calls, let them attend meetings with them, let them see how you are kind of, you know how you conduct business, how you work, how you talk to people. Same, you know, with traveling. If you've got meetings, I think, you know, that time traveling together is really important to get to know each other, build the bond, build the trust, and really kind of get to understand each other. And I think sharing the objectives, the long-term objectives of the business, and kind of really allowing them into kind of, you know, their vision for the company, because it's connecting the dots in the background, and, you know, making sure that X, Y, and Z and A, B, C happens. You know, it's really important and fundamental.
I think so. It's completely shadowing, 100% shadowing, and the more a leader can give, the better that relationship will build. And it's chicken and egg, isn't it? Because everyone's so busy, but just allowing that time. And assistants have to be really creative with getting that one-to-one. Sarah's got some amazing stories I've heard in the past. Most are suitable for air, I'm going to be honest. But it's creating the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and those daily catch-ups, those daily one-to-ones.
Daily catch-ups, daily catch-ups.
Stay in the diary, need to be in
the
there.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I guess some of that has to actually be reinforced by the executive assistant, because, you know, so the rules, you know, of engagement, if you like, and you talked about that bond before, is really important. And my guess is it's up to the executive assistant to create some of that bond too, and kind of go, look, there's some stuff here that's not working for me. You know, to make their senior leadership team or the CEO or whoever they're working with aware of what they need to make them better at their role. Oh, someone's brought me a coffee, Steve Whittle. Brilliant.
You're right. You know, having an open dialogue is really important, and you know, asking for feedback. And I think good assistants, you know, high performing assistants will say, you know, am I, you know, is this okay?
Yeah.
Am I doing this right? You know, what can be improved? How can we work better together? And always looking for improvements there in terms of the relationship.
And that feedback as well, you know, that she's, you know, he or she are the eyes and ears of the person that they're working for, or the team that they're working with, and being the eyes and ears for that. And perhaps, you know, maybe even some confidential feedback, you know, in terms of, you know, do you want me to feedback how you're doing, you know, and having those very honest conversations. What say you, ladies?
No, I agree. I think, you know, you're a safe space, and you're not the role of a business coach, but you're there to ask questions and challenge.
It's definitely that a mentor, kind of as a mentor and a coach is definitely part of the role.
Yeah, and I like those daily catch-ups as well, and insisting on those, because actually the one thing that could go wrong with this role, because it's such a, you know, if I can use the word intimate role, I guess, which it probably is, you know, I mean, you know, you kind of know the insides and outsides, both personally and professionally, of that person you're working with. And my guess is that, you know, those daily catch-ups are massively important, because, you know, if it's all just done online, or, you know, no contact, then no contact is bad contact, right? You know, it starts to unravel perhaps. So maybe, you know, it's up to them both, or the team, to make sure that they have regular check-ins together. And maybe that's part of the executive assistant role as well, to do that. Is that right? To be the glue of that?
Oh, agree. And I think how they're structured as well. You know, we've seen, I've had many leaders, you know, kind of glaze over after 10 minutes of going through a list of what needs to be done. So
sounds like me all over that. Yeah.
You know, there's
how they work. It's how they work, isn't it? And everyone's so individual.
Exactly. There's a finite time. So, you know, what are your priorities? You know, how are you structuring this? You know, the detail and the nitty gritty, perhaps, you know, save that for another time when there's a bit more time.
Of course, when there's some space.
So it's picking moments, and that's, you know, back to the EQ again. That's understanding, you know, the room, and understanding, you know, now's a great time. And the same with other SLT members. You know, I used to get others coming to put proposals in front of the CEO, etc. And you're kind of like, today's not a good day for that. If there was ever some advice to take, today's not the day.
The day is not the day.
Yeah, so it's kind of working together on that way.
No, completely. And I think you've made a valid point. The assistant is in control of that diary, and it's so easy for things to get moved, but ultimately they are controlling it. So keep it in.
Yeah, there's a delicate role between being the gatekeeper and being, the gatekeeper that's scary and, it's letting people in, but also being judicious that actually there's a lot going on and to gatekeep appropriately, perhaps.
I think it's even, I think I quite like the word facilitate, because there's that element of gatekeeping, but it's facilitating.
I like that. Yeah, it's almost like that's a too old a word, isn't it? The gatekeeper. I mean, we use that derogatory, don't we, as that term?
It makes me think of Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters. I love that. Oh dear, let's just give you a quick break. Let's just see what's going on in the chat. Just Sarah, Mrs. Moderator.
Lots going on in the chat. Paul Winfield makes a really great analogy. He said
Morning, Paul.
The relationship is very relatable to previous work as a paramedic, because paramedics normally work alongside a technician, and the quote they used was "paramedics save lives, technicians save the paramedics."
Oh,
and I think that is coming
analogy.
through out loud and clear, that if you use your EA as best you can, then you've got somebody who is, there to catch all the balls as they're dropping. But it does seem to be that it's very much setting those boundaries, isn't it? How are we going to work together? And it must be a lot more difficult when it is a virtual PA as opposed to a face-to-face role. As always, it's more difficult, isn't it? Elaine Godley said,
Elaine.
Here we go. In corporate days, she was always getting told off for doing too much herself. But these days, she appreciates the wonderful support of a virtual PA who's been with her for about 7 years. So it says, from time to time, as her work evolves, so does the way in the VA role change as well.
Yeah. So, and that's a partnership, right? By the sounds of it, what Elaine's talking about there. What do you think, ladies?
Yeah, no, definitely. We know, as part of our community, and some of the EAs I worked with years ago have morphed into a virtual assistant, and they've all got their specialisms. They're all very different, and it's a really collaborative community as well. And when a client comes to them asking for something, there's different niches almost that they can go to. So we have a lot of respect. For VAs. Respect for VAs, and they're part of our community with the network.
Yeah, and that whole thing about virtual assistants is becoming a new thing, particularly after the pandemic, right? It's hybrid working. Can you do this role virtually? What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Definitely.
I would say depends on the organisation.
Yeah, depends on the organisation.
Of course, right, okay.
The leader.
I mean, a lot of roles are hybrid now. I mean, there's a few roles. There are other roles which still require an assistant to be 5 days in an office. But I would say, I think you'd agree, the majority have some form of flex and some form of hybrid.
There we go. There's the change. And it's interesting. I one of my friends runs a business. He's on next week, actually, Code 56, and he has a VA. But I met her the other day, and he brings her in for team training and things like that, which is great. So she's part of the team, and they have lunch together and things like that as a whole team. And I just think that's really powerful, where the virtual assistant can also be not just virtual, but also there in person as well, as and when.
Yeah, I agree.
And with a virtual assistant, they obviously work with lots of different leaders of organisation. So, I think you can get the best skill set sometimes. And a lot, as you rightly said, post-pandemic, there are lots of assistants who actually did set up as VAs. Everybody had bills to pay at the time. So, and they've done very successfully as well.
Indeed, yeah. And I'm just picking up this last comment that's linked to
yes.
You, which I think is
so good morning to, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Indiwari.
Oh, well done.
As a PA, I support 3 SLT executives from 3 different countries of the organisation. As a virtual assistant, it's quite challenging sometimes to manage the different time zones.
I bet.
So she's from Sri Lanka, and when the executives are visiting the Colombo office, she becomes the on-site PA. So a bit of a mixture.
Bit of a mixture. Yeah, thank you.
And Amanda says, love what Andrew
Amanda.
says about how the EA becomes the eyes and ears and the voice of the CEO, which is accurate to build a strong relationship.
There we go.
It
Super.
is all down to relationship, isn't it? If you get the chemistry right, then you get the boundaries and the chemistry, and it sounds like, that's what makes it fly.
Love that. Yeah.
Values as well, like you have similar values and
work ethic.
And work ethic.
And work ethic, yeah. And as Sarah just said, Mrs. Moderator just said, I love the word that she just placed into that, the whole chemistry piece. And this is a chemistry thing, right? It's about relationship, it's about chemistry, but it's also about getting stuff done. But actually, the getting stuff done is the day job, I guess. The cream on the top is the chemistry, the relationship. That's the bit that's the difference that makes the difference. What do you think?
That's the elevated part. That's the high caliber.
Yeah, that's the value add. But actually, it's worth huge amounts, right? Because just getting stuff done is really important. But the bit that makes magic happen is the chemistry, I'm wondering.
And you get to know someone really well as well.
Yeah.
The CEOs I worked with were for 6-7 years at a time, and you get to know someone really well. You know what's going on in their personal life, but you're there to support them. And I guess it's that servant-led mindset. You're
servant-led mindset. Yeah.
To make their life really easy, and
easier.
And you're. I've said it before, like you're an extension of them, but you're there, PR as well. You're there to make them look good. And,
brand.
Absolutely. Make them look good. I like that. Yeah, that's exactly right. Love that expression. There's a couple of questions coming. We'll come to those later. But I just thought this might be useful right now. So just to let you know, the couple of questions in the feed from Stuart and Chris, we'll come back to those in a minute. We've not forgotten you. We did this poll, and this flew. Actually, it was a brilliant poll. This just absolutely took off. In your opinion, what vital role should executive assistants, EAs, play in contributing to your business and leadership team? These are all the things that we've been talking about this morning. So, interesting stats here: decision making, valuable perspectives, drive efficiency, effective ambassadors. We've got quite an even split on all of those. What say you, Marianne?
Do you know, if it was a button which said all of the above, sorry,
all of the above.
It probably would be appropriate. I just think it's kind of the contribution an EA plays or a PA plays to an organisation is huge.
Indeed.
They're an ambassador for the organisation. They are the visibility of the business, and they're the ones who, as we said, drive those efficiencies. They're the organizer, they are the ones who create the priorities and make sure they are, focused on, fulfilled and achieved. So I think it's a big mixture of all when we see, and again, it depends on how the leader is. It's kind of like, it's that balancing out the leader, they could be phenomenally efficient, but they need practical support. It's kind of like creating this individual relationship in each one. And we like to say, it's a very professional work marriage, the relationship.
Yeah, I like that. Work marriage. I love that. Yeah, it's because it's that close, right?
It is that close. Yeah. Every level, and that's the trust element as well, the confidential and the trust element.
Yeah, the trust, the loyalty, the ambassadorial role. All of those things, the valuable perspectives, all of the above, exactly as you're saying, or all of the below on that poll. Yeah.
Sorry. All to my left.
Brilliant. I mean, I just think that's fantastic. So, let's just go to a couple of the questions here from the audience. Let's just bring Mrs. Moderator back. Sarah.
Yeah. So, Stuart Prestige. So, how does one choose the right executive assistant?
And funny enough, that is the next question I was going to ask. So there you go.
Question. I think from our perspective, it's the research. We come into your organisation, we have to feel it. Because we've done the roles, there's a real responsibility to the candidates we work with. It's absolutely works both ways. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's kind of immersing ourselves. We become an extension of your business. It's very bespoke. It's your culture. It's your leadership team. It's how you like to work. Do you like to come in early? Do you leave late? What are your priorities? what are your requirements? It's really getting underneath the skin of who we are working for. We have to visit the office.
Yeah.
It's, and it's the non-negotiables, which mean that it's our process is robust, not for the faint-hearted. So then on the other side, so we really understand the brief, and that some of that comes from the fact that we've done the roles, but it's kind of like that just common sense, emotional kind of like, I suppose, intelligence as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think that, I mean, there's nothing more I love than asking a leader or a CEO and sitting them down and kind of like really understanding what it is they need help with, and what are their pain points, what are they struggling with, what is it that they need to get off their plate, what are their priorities, and understanding how someone could support and help them.
And I suppose the beauty of what you two, because of your past history, you can put yourself in that person's shoes who's going to do that role, right? That's massively powerful.
I have to pull Sarah back. I have to get her to in her hands, so she's not volunteering, because we're in a privileged position. We work with the SLT. We meet with CEOs. We get to look them in the eye and really understand them. And yet we do feel it's not lucky as such, but we're in a unique position ourselves. But we have access to the CEO to really work out, as you said, what their needs are.
And what is luck? Luck is when you a golfer would say, well, yeah, I'm lucky on the course because I practice and practice and practice. And I guess, what you're saying is that you can put yourself in that person's shoes and really squeeze out the role. I hadn't appreciated that. And it's something really to step back from and just appreciate that. Actually, I hadn't really understood that until just now, actually, when you were talking, both of you, that actually the key to this is the recruitment process, and that's what you two actually really offer as a unique USP. This isn't just an ordinary recruitment role. There's something very special about this role, and it requires very special processes, a very special understanding, and that's the magic that you bring to this. I really understand that. Wow, so I'm just doing your job for you here and just saying I really get why. PA recruitment, strategic PA recruitment is so powerful here because of your experience and, being able to do that for somebody. So there you go, folks. If you're looking for someone who if you're looking for an executive assistant, these are the two girls to go to straight away. Brilliant. Let's just see what else is going on question-wise. So I hope that's answered your question, Stuart. Sarah, what else is going on, Mrs. Moderator?
So much going on. Matthias, what is, in your experience, the most recurring challenges that you face in daily lives as an EA?
Love that.
No pressure there.
Thank you. For me, I think it's sometimes getting that time with your executive. You build in their diary, you make them efficient, you're making sure that they're busy and kind of fulfilling all of their direct reports, the customers, suppliers, etc. There's so many stakeholders in the business, that it's that your time, as much as I advocate to try and keep it in there, will often get pushed, and for you to make decisions and for you to progress on the different projects you're working on, you do need that airtime sometime, and it's hard to kind of put that in. So for me, that was sometimes a challenge, but like Marianne said, I'd get creative. I'd, join my exec at the end of a meeting and say, I'm having coffee with you, you're not moving until I get, these things done.
Or just in the car journey to somewhere.
Yeah, or I'll go, drive with the driver and be in the car so I get some time. So it's being creative. Of course,
being creative, but actually making that time and being gently assertive to actually, get that time. I like that. That's powerful.
And I think initially it's that shadowing, that first 90 days is so important. We can't stress that enough. And, building that trust, because once you build that, and doing the basics right, so doing the very everyday stuff exemplary, and then building on that trust, and then you create all these kind of other avenues just come more naturally.
You make it exemplary and you make it more natural, and that's the key to the role, right? Is actually creating that trust, but it's down to someone to do that. And it sounds like part of that is your job, as the executive assistant.
You're the driver.
Yeah. You're the driver of that. I love that. Okay. Lovely. Okay. So Mrs. Moderator again.
Right. So Kieran, can you give an example of how you filter out the noise stroke distractions, not just the spam, so that the CEO or SLT can be laser focused on the most important things. And is that impact measurable?
Oh, lovely question. Kieran from the Isle of Wight. There you go, my friend.
Hi, Kieran.
Kieran, I'll give you that question again. Here it is. There it is.
Yeah, you can definitely do an audit on time. Where are they focusing their times? What look at the calendar over the last 6 months. What's reoccurring? Perhaps look at this together or do some analysis on your own. What meetings that are in for an hour could be done in half an hour.
What do you notice?
What meetings do you need?
Yeah, what do you need? Can it be a briefing paper? And I'd often some of the SLT team, let me have the briefing paper. Let me, what are the key points that you need to get clarity on, and I can do the session, I can run it by him and do it.
Okay, take out the pertinent points, get rid of the noise, so that's your job as the EA type thing, and then give that to the C. Right, I'm with it. Lovely.
And help with the priorities as well. You know what to focus on. You know what your executive needs to focus on, and I guess adjusting the diary and the calendar accordingly.
Yeah.
And it's the cadence of the corporate calendar. If you're in a larger organisation, you know when board meetings are. You know when there's the annual results, or
the important things.
Preparing and planning and being organised to give them the heads up that we need the agenda for the meeting next week. Here's your 10 minutes to do that. So forward planning,
and I think
proactive.
Completely. I think it's taking the time to understand the organisational needs overall. Where they're going, their commerciality, the business, and the growth plan. So it's the overall plan of the business, and then you can, which is why it's so important for the assistant to be, absolutely part of the senior leadership team, to be in all those meetings, to be privy to all those conversations, because then they can absolutely fully support on every level.
Yeah.
I like that. And you're just talking about priorities and stuff. I remember one CEO who had a fantastic PA, and she divided his time. I think it was his time into 20-minute slots. So his day was just filled full of 20-minute slots. But it sounds like rather odd, but actually I thought it was really interesting because when I wanted to see him, I would get a 20-minute slot. So you got 20 minutes. So it really made me focus on what are the important things I want from this CEO. I got 20 minutes to get my point across and a decision from him. I really found that to be useful, and I get wheeled in for the 10:25 20-minute slot or whatever it was. And I just really liked that because it was really powerful. And he was a very, very efficient man, very effective in what he did.
There's lots of science behind that about the human can only concentrate. It's about 18 minutes or 20 minutes. So there's absolute science behind that you'll become much more efficient.
Yeah, and that was his executive assistant's, plan, and he stuck to it. And I just thought, wow, what a brilliant way of doing his work. So it just means that you're not just dealing with the important strategic things, but there's also 20 minutes to spare for a staff member or somebody like me that's coming in from an external basis. I'll give you 20 minutes. It's brilliant because then it gives you time with that CEO, but it's only 20 minutes, so you've really got to focus. And I really valued that tremendously. Loved that, and I've taken a leaf out of his book. I love that way that he ran that.
I think it's important to build in space time as well. Spare time.
Exactly. You
need to be. I know it's a joke, but some schedules can be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's that empathy. There's that time for other for people. I think that leaders need to think about.
Yeah, there's that lovely sort of jar, isn't there, that you can fill with the golf balls first, which are the big things, and then you put the little rocks in, which are the smaller things, and then the sand goes in between. But there should always be time to pour a beer on top, right? And have at least 20 minutes of beer time with somebody. So let's just go back to Mr. Moderator. There's loads of questions coming up. Sarah.
Yes, which one? Ralph Moody's just thrown a nice.
Hello, Ralph.
What about when things go pear-shaped?
Oh,
how do they deal with conflict or dysfunctional teams?
Oh yeah, and with someone else talked about toxic teams as well, Sarah. I think was it Amanda or something.
That one didn't see
if we can get those. One. Yeah, there we go. There it is. There, Sarah. Is that one there? We've worked with toxic leaders.
Yeah, some stories. So, but I'm curious to hear Ralph's question answered.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
How do they deal with dysfunctional teams and conflict?
Yeah, and I think this comes back to the emotional intelligence as well. It's navigating that and not being part of it. That's really important. And I think a lot of EAs will kind of step away from that. But you can I guess help facilitate in a way. You can observe. You can help.
It's trying to find a resolution, isn't it?
Navigate. Exactly.
I know the resolution. What you need to do, ladies, is ask me to come in and help that team, because you recognise it's a dysfunctional team, right? So you need Andrew Jenkins to help you out. There you are, answered. But seriously, no. Yeah.
And it does happen. You do work with challenging characters and challenging people, and I think it's having it's being gracious, it's setting boundaries, Sarah, like you mentioned earlier, and it's dealing with it in a mature way, a professional manner.
And if it's your actual team or your actual leader, it's kind of often it's working out the reasons why that's happening. What is the challenge, which is it's going back a bit, and then kind of understanding. And we've got incredible stories about how assistants have worked with leaders who nobody else has been able to work with before, but it's just understanding them. So I think ultimately it's the right fit. It's the chemistry again, and it's getting that right initially. And you're always going to get occasions where things don't, but EAs, if nothing's not adaptable,
flexible.
That whole thing about, Amanda just used the word toxic leaders here, but probably a better word or a different word for you, Amanda, is okay, so toxic leaders, one thing, but actually leaders that are just about to derail, perhaps, and at that level, as we said very early on, it's a very lonely role being at the top, and sometimes that role gets a little bit distorted where it becomes, leaders can have a propensity, and we need to remember this, that it's really easy to derail at very high levels because the amount of responsibility people are carrying. And it's huge, isn't it? So actually part of the role of the EA is to kind of nudge back into track, perhaps, that if there's a derail that person can see because they're sensitive to it and they're picking up the nuances.
Or they might need some support or help,
Taking
it kind of, is it a chat with the chairman? Is it a board, is it to kind of, and this is again that coach element of asking the right questions and taking that step back and perhaps steering the right words at the right time.
I really think so. We've run a series before inside the head of a CEO, because as you've said, Andrew, it's so lonely at the top, and it's the EA or the assistant coming in and saying, what are your challenges today? How are you? What is in your head? And it's kind of breaking it down sometimes to the basic stuff.
The basic
to understand.
stuff. Yeah.
I know it's really simple, but it's their people as well.
Of course, absolutely. And we're all human, right? And because the pressure at the top, it can make severe cracks, and maybe part of that role for the executive assistant is to, as you said, look, maybe it's a good time to have a conversation with the chairman. I'm noticing these things, and that might be a lifesaver for that CEO at that moment. I mean, that's where that whole marriage thing becomes so important, doesn't it? The professional marriage piece. Sorry. I wanted to also ask you, just moving on a little bit, and we're coming to the end of the show just shortly, but I just wanted to kind of paint a picture in terms of the future a little bit here, and we recently on the show we've been talking about ChatGPT, that artificial intelligence, the AI stuff. How does that fit into the future of executive assistants? Is it going to make it more powerful role because a lot of the, maybe the organisation stuff can be done by artificial intelligence, which then means how will the executive assistant role change? Will it need to flourish? Will it get better? Will it get even more powerful? Tell us what you think is the future there.
That's an interesting question.
And a hot topic at the moment.
A hot topic indeed.
I think assistants need to embrace technology, embrace AI, and use it to their benefit. And
it's here, isn't it? So it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. It's going to get more powerful and more powerful.
But also, I think there's that human element of this role that you cannot. You cannot ask Alexa to do some of the things that I did, certainly in my role, and I just think it's using it to its full advantage, but equally remembering that the human touch is more than than anything in this position.
Do you know what I'm thinking? Just as you're talking there, the thing that's triggering in my mind is that a lot of the artificial intelligence stuff gets rid of the day-to-day, everyday grind, right? Potentially. So, maybe it makes the whole booking of, airplane tickets and train tickets and events and all the things that AI is probably very, very good at, mechanical process, and which then leaves, that stuff can trundle along. Maybe I'm just thinking, which then leaves space, ladies. I'm wondering that actually that human element that you're talking about, that's the bit that can really now, because you're not distracted with the everyday stuff. You still need to take care of that and check it, of course. But that might give you more time to have the bandwidth available to be that empathy, that emotional support, that bit. So maybe the role's going to become even more important. What do you say?
And to be more strategic as well. There's project EAs wear many hats in an organisation. Some are kind of involved in HR, investor relations, marketing. So, there's lots of capability there that's often untapped. So for them to kind of to be involved and get involved in other areas of the business or pick up projects perhaps that the CEO or the leader wants.
Rather than the day-to-day stuff, you're now looking at more involved projects. I like that.
And assistants are driven, they're hungry to learn, they want to do more.
Indeed.
It's such a unique skill set, an assistant, and this role absolutely is not for everybody and should not be undervalued as well.
Quite right.
The amount an assistant can do, and as you said, all the different hats they can wear, they are able to have, excuse the analogy, spin multiple plates, conflicting deadlines, priorities, curveballs, things coming in, and do it with a smile, that swan quality.
Do it with aplomb, right?
Underneath, we're manic.
Love it.
And they do it with a smile. They make it look easy, and
make it look elegant. Yeah.
It's a hard, it's a
tough role.
A leader.
Yeah, and that should be reflected in the salary levels as well, shouldn't it? I guess.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's just quickly go back to Mrs. Moderator before we move on.
I'm just going to bring up what Nicola Bradley said. I love this.
Nicola.
AI won't replace us EAs, but the EAs who refuse to embrace and augment themselves with it may find that they struggle.
Oh, perfect.
And then she's, job description for an EA, professional cat herder.
That is brilliant. Oh, Nicola, that's great. Love that.
Superhero and professional cat herder.
A superhero, yeah. I think someone else said superhero earlier, didn't they? Yeah, love that. Yeah, superhero. I think it was Amanda, maybe.
We say the job description is just a guide.
That's just a guide. I love that. Brilliant. Anything else that we want to bring up, Sarah?
No, that's actually the one last thing that Amanda brought up earlier. So as a majority the female population performs the role, how do you encourage gents to enter this role?
Oh, I'm just trying to find that one. Was that
it's way back? Don't bother trying to find it.
Way back. Yeah. Okay.
That's a great question. Yeah. And you're right that it's, what are we percentage-wise? 97-8% is female.
Yeah.
And I think I know EPA, the Executive Assistant Personal Assistant Association, ran a campaign a few years ago, hashtag not just a girl's job, and it's kind of full visibility that it is not just a female profession.
There it is.
There's lots of men out there who have got the skills and the ability to do this, to do this position as well.
Yeah.
And we know them. We've got one on our committee, and we're speaking to another one who's going to hopefully be part of an event. But I think it's representing and bringing them into our
inclusivity completely. And I think it is about that kind of bringing everybody in and making sure they're welcome when they come to our events. They are male assistants, unfortunately, are kind of like minorities. But if you think about the company secretary, we were talking about this literally yesterday on a board. They've been primarily men. So, and chief of staff role, which is coming in, that's very non-gender bias actually.
Okay, yeah, love it. Yeah, thank you. Super. Listen, we're running out of time quickly, but that link was just nice to bring in a couple of things that you're doing, ladies. So talk to us about your network awards and other things.
Oh, we are super proud to be running our awards in October. It's honestly the highlight of our year. It gives us an opportunity to spotlight the talent in our industry. And when these nominations come in, Andrew, honestly, we kind of have a little sob because they're so deserving, the assistants. So they're on from the 19th of October in Reading at the Hilton in Berkshire. And we are wanting anybody who has an assistant to nominate, or if you're an assistant, you know a deserving colleague who you would like to nominate, or self-nominate. It's not a time to be shy. We have 14 categories this year, 2 new ones, including the chief of staff, which is that kind of new kind of hot role, which seems to have come over from America. So you'll be like,
I think it's just there's lots of different categories, and it's about spotlighting the profession.
That sounds really interesting. It's the 19th of October, so there we go, folks. So nominate somebody or nominate yourselves. Lovely. Okay, and then finally we've got this piece here as well. Tell us about what this is here.
Our network. So we run network events for assistants, professional networking group. It's been going for 8 years now. So I set it up on maternity leave, and obviously. We've got events in London, South East, Oxford, Reading, and we'd love for new members to come and join us and come along. And some of the topics we've covered are imposter syndrome.
Great topic.
Lots of different
soft skills, hard skills. It's a real safe community where, as we've said, it's a lonely role. And our panels, the magic happens when we have a panel of high performing assistants and learnings and storytellings and the support. It is a real inclusive, all welcoming. Nobody stands on their own.
Brilliant. Love that. So there we go. There's the network community as well, and the links will be in the feed. So I just wanted to say thanks again, Sarah and Marianne, for enlightening us today. What an extraordinary, playful conversation we've had today, folks. And we've loved having you both on the show. And this show will be on podcast too shortly, people. And we're just heading to a wrap up right now. But there's a few things we want to talk about, including the Goosh for next week. And before I get onto that next week, quick reminder that Leaders Live is a free show for all leaders, directors, managers, and entrepreneurs who are interested in business growth through infotainment and enjoy taking part in extraordinary conversations that we've just had today. And we want to make this community. The aim is to make the world better, folks, and we want to bring a spirit of freedom, of joy, of fun and love and the feel-good factor in our working lives. These are so important, just as Sarah and Marianne have been highlighting today. And we have a new sponsor this week. So we have Kathy Heath, CEO of Healthy Minds Club. And here she is talking about Healthy Minds Club just for a moment.
Hi, I'm Kathy Heath, CEO and co-founder of the Healthy Minds Club. We are a multi-award-winning WellTech business offering personalised, proactive and preventative wellbeing solutions in the form of a gift card and membership. We connect our users with qualified, insured, vetted wellbeing experts, products and services to prevent issues and empower positive mental and financial wellbeing.
I'm absolutely delighted to be sponsoring Leaders Live and Andrew.
There we go. So that's Kathy Heath talking about Healthy Minds Club. I'm on her board, actually, and she's on my board and I'm on her board. So there we go. So, well worth watching out for Healthy Minds Club. So thank you very much, Kathy Heath. And just a quick pitch on the stuff that I'm doing at the moment. We talked a little bit about team development and toxic teams earlier that I, tongue-in-cheek, said, well, you ought to use me for those kind of things. And this is a little bit about what I do. I talk about high-performing teams, and I help toxic teams turn into high-performing teams or low-performing teams into high performance teams. And I've got a free workshop going on the 23rd of June. That's this Friday, coming up at 12:15, and that's what we're going to be talking about. You're more than welcome to come along if particularly if you are a business owner with a team or a senior leader who runs a team. Then please come along to that, and you'll find out more about high performing teams. and my program on high performance teamwork. And just before I get to the goose of next week, Sarah, what's going on with Leaders Live? Give us a little bit of a catch up on Leaders Live.
Lots going on with Leaders Live. Eagle-eyed people will have spotted that we've got other sponsors on board as well as Ghost. Ghost is still our sponsor. We've got Healthy Minds Club. We'll have Marketing CX. So you'll have to tune in each week to see who's sponsoring that one and to highlight them.
We ought to ask Sarah and Marianne to be our sponsors as well, hadn't we? That'd be
absolutely.
Yeah.
Always up for an extra sponsor. It's nice to bring variety, because I think it just highlights different things for people who are listening. And as always, if you've enjoyed the show, tell all your friends.
Yeah.
Do subscribe, because you get so much more benefits. Lots of information. We don't spam you, but it's really helpful information stuff. And check out the other stuff that Andrew does as well. It's it's exciting times.
Thank you very much. Great, Sarah. So and the goose for next week, folks. So next week, next Tuesday slot, we talked very briefly about Chat GPT today in the executive assistance role, and a few weeks ago we had Dr. Julia Nesbitt talking about the future of artificial intelligence, and we're going to cover it again actually, because it's such a powerful, important subject right now. So how can Chat GPT empower the digital evolution for your business? So that's what we're handling next week with hangout guest Owen Conti, CEO of Code 56, and as I said, we're revisiting this very, very important subject. We think you're going to love it. We can't wait. So be there or be square, folks. And we're gonna rock out now to our outro. And we just wanted to thank you very much for being part of our show today. And we're just on time on the hour. So here we go. We're going to wave goodbye to you. Thanks again from Marianne and Sarah Howson for being fantastic guests on our Leaders Live show. So thank you very much. Actually, I don't know where the other the other scenes have gone. I forgot to build those in. So I'll just have to wave goodbye because I've forgotten the other scene. But thanks very much for being part of our awesome groovy show. Bye for now. And we'll see you again next week. Be there or be square. Cheers for now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we'll just quickly go to, where are we? Just to say goodbye to you guys. Thanks again, Sarah and Marianne. Bye. Thanks very much. Cheers now. See you
Enjoyed
again.
That. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. See you again. Right.